Here is the disturbing contradiction. A person can study success for years and still live by chance. They can fill shelves with wisdom, cover pages with notes, attend every seminar, repeat every principle, and then surrender Tuesday morning to mood, pressure, interruption, and accident. They know much, desire much, and govern almost nothing. Listen carefully. Information, intention, and law are not the same. Information is what you know. Intention is what you hope to do. But a personal law is what consistently governs your conduct when convenience disappears. You may know that preparation matters and still procrastinate. You may intend to protect your family and still give them whatever attention remains. Knowledge can inform you. Desire can excite you. Only a governing principle can stabilize you. Write this down. A principle becomes powerful when it stops being information and starts governing behavior. This requires us to redefine success. Success is not immunity from hardship. It is not a promise that every venture will prosper, every relationship will remain, or every circumstance will obey your plans. You do not control every outcome, and honest teaching must never pretend that you do. Purposeful success is repeated alignment with worthy principles in the decisions you can make. How you use time, how you treat people, how you manage resources, how you respond to correction, and what you do when nobody is applauding. That kind of success becomes more dependable because your conduct becomes more coherent. Not painless, not guaranteed, governed. Now ask yourself a difficult question. Why do I request different results while defending the habits that keep reproducing my present results? We ask for change, then protect the schedule that prevents it. We want trust, then excuse the conduct that weakens it. We desire progress, then negotiate with every discipline progress requires. That is not a shortage of motivation. That is a government problem. Take a page and complete this sentence honestly. My present life is being produced by. Do not write what you admire. Write what you repeatedly obey. Your calendar will help you. Your spending will help you. Your reactions under pressure will help you. We are going to build 10 connected laws, moving from purpose all the way to review. Each law will include a self-test, and each one must become an observable rule for daily or weekly conduct. At the end, you will assemble those rules into a written personal code, identify one immediate repair, and establish a recurring practice of correction. We are replacing chance with alignment. Alignment, but alignment with what? Before you measure success, you must decide what your life is for. Purpose is the answer. Law 1. Purpose defines the win. Purpose is not a slogan designed to make you feel important. Purpose is the governing reason that gives your activity direction and gives your results a standard of evaluation. Until that reason is clear, you cannot honestly determine whether your life is working. You can only report that it is moving. And movement is not the same as progress. A person may answer every message, accept every opportunity, complete every task, and remain disconnected from meaningful contribution. Busy people often receive applause because motion is visible. But usefulness asks a more demanding question. Is all this activity serving the assignment I have chosen to honor? Write this down. If you do not define the win, activity will impersonate achievement. Imagine traveling with tremendous speed but no settled direction. Speed does not solve that problem. Speed intensifies it. A compass must govern the journey before acceleration can improve it. Otherwise, every additional mile becomes evidence of energy spent in uncertainty. Listen carefully. Faster in the wrong direction is not advancement. It is efficient misalignment. This is why purpose must examine your goals before your goals begin commanding your life. A goal may be impressive and still be unworthy of your years. It may attract recognition, increase comfort, or prove your ability, yet contribute nothing to the people and responsibilities you claim matter most. Achievement cannot define success by itself. Achievement must answer to purpose. Here is your first self-test. If I achieve my present goals, what meaningful purpose will those achievements serve? Do not answer with applause, status, or possessions. Those describe rewards, they do not identify contribution. Ask whom the goal helps, what good it enables, and why that good deserves a portion of your life. Now write one sentence. Name whom you intend to serve, what contribution you intend to make, and why it matters. Keep it plain enough to remember and precise enough to challenge you. I intend to serve these people by making this contribution because this consequence matters. That sentence is not decoration. It is a criterion. It can approve a goal, reject an opportunity, expose a distraction, or require a revision. Purpose supplies the reason, but a reason still needs a visible destination. You have stated why. Now you must see what alignment would look like. That is the work of vision. Law 2. Vision gives purpose a picture. Take the reason you have written and ask what it should produce over time. Vision is a specific description of purpose expressed in future conditions. The contribution you are making, the character you are developing, the responsibilities you are honoring, and the way your daily life increasingly reflects what you claim matters. Vision is not fantasy. Fantasy admires a destination without confronting the changes required to approach it. It enjoys the feeling of arrival while leaving present conduct untouched. Vision does something more demanding. Vision identifies what must become different. Write this down. Fantasy entertains desire. Vision instructs decisions. A map cannot choose a route until a destination has been named. If you merely say, "Take me somewhere better," every road can appear promising for a while. But when the destination is clear, the map becomes useful. Some routes move toward it. Some move away from it. Some may be attractive, convenient, and completely irrelevant. That is what vision does for your purpose. It gives you recognizable evidence of alignment. You may not control whether every person accepts your service, whether every effort receives support, or whether every worthy project produces the outcome you hoped for. But you can describe the kind of contribution you will consistently offer, the qualities you will cultivate, and the responsibilities you will no longer neglect. Vision must be courageous enough to direct you and honest enough to respect reality. Here is your second self-test. What would be visibly different in my life and service if my purpose were being fulfilled? Choose a defined horizon, perhaps the next year or the next meaningful season, and write one short paragraph. Describe what you would be doing, how you would be conducting yourself, whom you would be serving, and which responsibilities would show greater care. Then identify 3 observable signs of growing alignment, not vague feelings, visible signs, practices maintained, people served, obligations honored. Place those 3 signs beneath your purpose statement. You are building a code, not collecting attractive sentences. Purpose names the reason. Vision describes the evidence. Now the destination is visible. But visibility creates another problem. Everything cannot receive equal time, attention, and energy. Many demands will compete for the resources your vision requires. So the next law must decide what gets protected. Law 3. Priority protects what matters. The moment you define a worthy vision, competition begins. Requests arrive. Problems announce themselves. Convenient opportunities demand an answer. If you have not decided what deserves precedence, the loudest demand will behave as though it owns you. Priority is the deliberate ranking of competing demands according to purpose, not according to noise, convenience, or pressure. Write this down. What you refuse to rank, pressure will rank for you. Some people avoid ranking because they say everything is important. That sounds responsible, but it makes responsible action impossible. If everything is first, nothing is first. When 2 obligations compete for the same hour, the same money, or the same strength, you must choose. Refusing to choose does not preserve equality. It merely transfers the decision to urgency. Consider a container with fixed capacity. You cannot keep placing items inside without regard to order and expect the most valuable ones to fit. What enters first occupies space. What is delayed may remain outside. Your life operates under similar limits. A day has boundaries. Attention becomes tired. Energy can be spent before your highest responsibility receives any of it. Capacity forces selection, whether you select deliberately or accidentally. So, priority is not merely naming what matters, it is protecting what matters first. Here is your third self-test. Does my calendar reveal the priorities I claim or the pressures I obey? Examine an ordinary week. Do not inspect your intentions. Inspect your appointments, your repeated interruptions, and the demands that consistently receive your strongest hours. Your schedule may reveal that a stated priority has been surviving on leftovers while an attractive distraction receives first access. Now, make the law observable. Write 3 non-negotiable priorities that your purpose and vision require you to protect. For each one, state what resource it must receive: time, attention, energy, or money. Then name one attractive distraction you will reduce, decline, or defer. 1. Be specific. Do not feel guilty because something worthwhile remains outside. Exclusion is not automatically selfishness. When guided by purpose, exclusion is responsibility. Every meaningful yes creates a necessary no. Keep this ranking visible. You now know what must come first. But a ranked commitment can still remain undone if it has no sequence, no appointed time, and no next action. Priority decides what deserves protection. Planning will tell that priority where to live. Law 4. Planning gives time instructions. Take the highest item in your priority ranking and give it a place in time. Planning is deciding in advance how a priority will use time, resources, and sequence. It answers 3 practical questions. What must happen? In what order? When will the next action occur? Write this down. A plan is a decision made before pressure arrives. A wish list names desired outcomes. A plan identifies executable actions. Improve my health, strengthen my family, and develop my work may express sincere desires, but none of them tells Tuesday what to do. Vague language can conceal avoidance because it permits endless agreement without requiring movement. You can admire the outcome and still postpone the action. Listen carefully. If the next step cannot be seen, scheduled, or completed, the priority is not yet operational. Consider a blueprint. It may display the finished structure clearly, but clarity about the finished structure does not eliminate the order of construction. Certain work must precede other work. Materials must be available. Each stage must support what follows. Attempting everything at once does not accelerate construction. It creates confusion. A large vision becomes approachable when it is translated into ordered work. Planning does that translation. It moves from vision to objective, from objective to milestones, and from milestones to the next action. Here is your 4th self-test. What is the next physical, schedulable action required by my highest priority? Not work on it. What will you actually do? Make the call. Draft the page. Prepare the materials. Hold the conversation. Choose language that leaves no hiding place. Now select one objective you intend to advance during the next 90 days. Beneath it, write 3 milestones in the order they must occur. Then identify the first action required by milestone 1. Place that action on your actual calendar within the next 24 hours. Give it a starting time and the resources it requires. Do not confuse planning with rigidity. A plan serves purpose. Purpose does not become a prisoner of the plan. New information may require revision. Conditions may change. Responsible adjustment is not failure. But constant revision to escape discomfort is merely delay wearing intelligent clothing. Now point to the scheduled action. The calendar has received its instruction, but what happens when that appointed time arrives and enthusiasm does not? A plan can direct your conduct, but it cannot compel obedience. That requires the next law, discipline. The appointed time arrives and enthusiasm is absent. Now law 5 becomes necessary. Discipline governs the mood. Discipline is not punishment, emotional numbness, or hostility toward yourself. Discipline is obedience to a worthy decision after the emotion that inspired it has changed. You examined the commitment when you were clear. You judged it consistent with purpose. You ranked it, planned it, and scheduled it. Temporary resistance does not automatically deserve authority to cancel it. Write this down. Feelings may speak, but they do not have to govern. Feelings provide information. Fatigue may reveal a need for recovery. Fear may expose uncertainty. Frustration may signal that the method needs adjustment. Listen to the message. Examine it honestly. But do not hand every feeling the power to issue commands. There is a difference between hearing your mood and being ruled by it. That is the difference between self-government and mood government. Under self-government, a chosen standard remains in authority unless responsible judgment revises it. Under mood government, every discomfort reopens a settled decision. You plan to begin, but now you do not feel ready. You decided to continue, but now the work feels difficult. If every feeling can demand a new vote, your commitments will never survive resistance. Consider a thermostat. A thermometer merely registers the atmosphere around it. The thermostat establishes a standard and activates a response when the atmosphere departs from that standard. Many people live like thermometers. Pressure rises, energy falls, inconvenience appears, and their conduct simply reports the surrounding condition. Discipline says, I recognize the condition, but I will answer to the standard. Here is your fifth self-test. Which commitment do I repeatedly renegotiate when discomfort appears? Name one. Then establish a minimum daily standard, for it's small enough to keep consistently, but meaningful enough to preserve movement. Not the ideal performance. The minimum obedient action. Decide what you will do even on the difficult day, unless health, safety, or responsible judgment genuinely requires revision. Say it plainly. My mood is a messenger, not my manager. This is not shame. Inconsistency is not proof that you are incapable. It reveals where government must be strengthened. Keep the minimum standard visible and honor it today. Discipline wins the immediate argument. But one victory does not yet create reliability. How does obedient action become a dependable pattern? Through the next law, diligence. Law 6. Diligence makes progress repeatable. Diligence is sustained attention to the right work, performed with care after the excitement of beginning has faded. Discipline enables you to act when resistance appears. Diligence carries that obedience across days and weeks until worthy conduct becomes dependable. It is not merely doing the work again. It is returning with attention, preserving quality, and strengthening the pattern through ordinary repetition. Write this down. One action announces desire. Repeated action establishes reliability. Many people admire intensity because intensity is visible. A dramatic burst feels powerful. It may produce an impressive day, an exhausting weekend, or a heroic rescue just before a deadline. But if your system repeatedly requires rescue, it is not yet reliable. Intensity can begin movement. Continuity sustains it. The question is not whether you can perform greatly once. The question is whether your conduct can be trusted to return. Consider rehearsal. Reliable performance is not prepared only by one emotional, exhausting session. It is formed as the same essential movements receive repeated attention. What was awkward becomes familiar. What required constant effort becomes more stable. The rehearsal may appear ordinary, but ordinary preparation is establishing capacity for the moment when performance matters. Here is your sixth self-test. Am I depending on heroic bursts because I have resisted a sustainable rhythm? Do not answer defensively. Identify one area where delay is followed by frantic effort, where excess is followed by collapse, or where one missed action becomes permission to abandon the entire commitment. Diligence does not demand a flawless record. It demands a rhythm you can honor and a rule for returning when the rhythm is broken. Now design 1 week. Specify the days and times when your minimum standard will occur. Decide how completion will be recorded: a simple mark, check, or brief entry. Then establish your recovery rule. If the appointed action is missed, resume at the next reasonable opportunity or scheduled time. Do not punish one interruption by creating 7 more. Say it clearly. I do not need perfection to practice continuity. Keep the rhythm sustainable, visible, and connected to purpose. Quiet repetition may not feel dramatic, but it builds confidence because you no longer depend upon emergency effort to move forward. Now your discipline has duration. Your conduct can return, recover, and continue. But strengthened capacity raises a larger question. Dependable for what? If diligence develops your ability, who benefits from that ability? The next law moves beyond personal performance. It is the law of service. That question must now be answered. Law 7. Service converts ability into value. Service is not weakness, passivity, or the abandonment of ambition. Service is the deliberate application of your ability, knowledge, and resources to a real responsibility, a genuine need, or a meaningful problem beyond self-display. Discipline strengthens your capacity. Diligence makes it dependable. Service gives that dependable capacity a beneficiary. Write this down. Ability becomes valuable when it accepts responsibility for service. Our culture can confuse visibility with value. If people notice the work, praise the talent, or recognize the name, we assume something important has happened. But being seen is not identical to being useful. Attention tells you that people observe the contribution. Service asks whether the contribution improved anything. You can be visible and irrelevant. You can also be quietly useful and profoundly valuable. Consider a well-designed tool kept permanently on display. Its material may be excellent. Its construction may be precise. People may admire its appearance. But the tool's potential gains significance when it is properly applied to the work it was designed to perform. Its value is not proven merely by what it possesses. Its value appears in what its capacity helps accomplish. The same is true of your growth. Knowledge that only impresses you remains incomplete. Skill that exists only to distinguish you remains immature. Resources consumed entirely by personal appetite never reach their highest purpose. Your development matters because someone, some responsibility, or some worthy problem can be served through it. Here is your 7th self-test. Whose condition is improved when I perform my work well? Name the people. Do not write everyone. Specific service creates specific responsibility. Then name the need your contribution addresses. Finally, identify one way to make that contribution more useful, more reliable, or better in quality. Now form your value statement. I serve these people by addressing this need, and I will improve my contribution by doing this. Keep it beside your rhythm of diligence. Repetition should not merely make you faster, it should make your service better. This is how private growth becomes public value. Purposeful ability does not stop at achievement. It reaches people. People, and the moment people enter the system, relationships matter. Some relationships strengthen truth, correction, and contribution. Others quietly normalize exceptions. The next law examines who is helping your code remain strong. Follow service to the people who receive it, share it, and shape it. Law 8. Relationships reinforce the code. A productive relationship is not merely a connection that makes you comfortable. It is a connection that supports truth, growth, responsibility, correction, and contribution. Agreement may feel pleasant, but constant agreement is not proof of health. Some people applaud your intentions while helping you excuse your conduct. They preserve access to your company by refusing to disturb your illusions. Write this down. The people around your system can reinforce its standards or normalize its exceptions. Popularity is not alignment. You may have a large circle and still have nobody who will challenge your drift. You may receive attention, invitations, and affirmation while remaining directionless. Isolation is dangerous because private resolve can weaken without reinforcement. But uncritical belonging is also dangerous because a group can make disorder feel normal. Healthy relationships perform at least 4 functions. Encouragement restores strength without disguising reality. Correction identifies departure from the standard. Collaboration joins ability around worthy work. Service directs the relationship beyond mutual advantage toward meaningful contribution. Consider a training partner. That person cannot perform your movement for you, but they can observe what you cannot easily see. They notice when your form changes, when your effort declines, when you avoid the difficult repetition, or when you claim progress your conduct does not support. A good partner does not humiliate you for drifting. A good partner helps you recognize drift early enough to correct it. Truthful reinforcement strengthens follow-through. Here is your 8th self-test. Who can question my conduct without losing access to my honesty? Do not name the person you tolerate while secretly withholding the truth. Name someone whose questions you will answer without performance, evasion, or retaliation. If nobody qualifies, your independence may have become a hiding place. Now audit your relationships in 4 categories: encouragement, correction, collaboration, and service. Write one name beside each category. Notice the blank spaces. Notice also whether one person is expected to carry every function. Then choose the most neglected category and schedule one specific conversation. Ask for encouragement, invite correction, propose collaboration, or offer service. Do not write network more. Name the person, the purpose, and the time. Wise interdependence does not weaken your code. It makes your code harder to deceive. And healthy relationships often bring greater responsibility, opportunity, and resources. The next law asks, whether what reaches your hands can be trusted to your management. What reaches your hands creates responsibility. Law 9. Stewardship proves what can be trusted. Stewardship is the accountable management of resources entrusted to your care, whether they appear abundant or painfully limited. It does not begin when you finally have enough. It begins with what is available now. Time, attention, energy, money, and opportunity must all answer to purpose, because a life cannot remain coherent while its resources serve competing masters. Write this down. A resource without an assignment is easily consumed by appetite or accident. Possession asks, what can I consume? Responsibility asks, what must this resource accomplish? That shift changes everything. Your hour is no longer merely yours to spend. It must support something worthy. Your attention is not free to follow every interruption. It must strengthen what you have chosen to protect. Money, ability, access, and opportunity are not proofs of importance. They are responsibilities awaiting direction. Scarcity can make you stare at what is missing. Entitlement can make you waste what is present. Stewardship refuses both errors. It asks what faithful management can begin today. Consider a ledger. Money becomes easier to examine when every receipt and payment is recorded. But what if the same visibility were given to attention and energy? You might discover that an important obligation received 2 tired hours while distraction received 10 alert ones. You might find that opportunities were accepted because they were flattering, not because they served your purpose. Invisible expenditure is still expenditure. Here is your 9th self-test. Which resource do I request more of while neglecting what is already in my hands? For 7 days, keep a resource inventory. Record where your time, focused attention, usable energy, money, and significant opportunities actually go. Do not estimate from memory and do not edit the record to protect your image. At the end of each day, identify what served your stated priorities, what served a lower priority, and what disappeared without a deliberate assignment. Then make one measurable reallocation. Move a defined amount of time, attention, energy, or money from one lower use toward one purpose-aligned commitment. Give it a destination and a date. You do not need ideal conditions to begin responsible management. You need an honest record and a deliberate assignment. But allocation can begin wisely and still drift. When the 7-day ledger is complete, how will you know whether the change is working? The final law provides the feedback that turns experience into correction. Begin with the record you have just created. Law 10. Review turns experience into correction. Review is not vague reflection, and it is not an emotional verdict on your week. Review is an honest comparison between the principles you declared, the conduct you can observe, and the lessons produced by the results. Then it requires correction. Without comparison, experience merely passes. Without correction, the same contradiction returns. Write this down. What you refuse to examine, you permit to drift. Some people avoid review because they confuse diagnosis with judgment. Shame says the failure proves that I am defective. Honest review says this action departed from my standard. Now I must discover why and repair it. One attacks identity. The other accepts responsibility. You are not excusing the error, but neither are you turning an error into your name. Consider the dashboard before a driver. Its indicators do not choose the destination, hold the wheel, or move the vehicle. They reveal conditions requiring attention. A warning is useful because it makes timely response possible. Ignoring it does not preserve confidence, it protects drift. But staring at the indicator without acting is equally useless. Information must become adjustment. So do not review your week by asking, did I feel productive? General impressions flatter us. Examine promises and behavior. Here is your 10th self-test. Where did my behavior contradict my written priorities this week? And what will I change before the contradiction repeats? Appoint one weekly time for review. Ask 6 questions. Did my conduct remain aligned with purpose? Which commitments were completed, delayed, or abandoned? Did my resources go where I deliberately assigned them? Did I practice honesty, correction, contribution, and care in my relationships? What did the results teach me? What one correction will I implement before the next review? Choose one correction, not 12 dramatic promises. Make it specific enough to schedule, small enough to begin, and meaningful enough to address the cause. Revise the method when evidence requires it, but do not abandon the purpose merely because obedience exposed a weakness. This is disciplined confidence. Errors can become instructions without becoming identities. Review protects the system through honest feedback, timely correction, and renewed obedience. Now the 10 laws are complete. Place them together before you. Separate principles may inspire you, but unwritten principles remain too easy to renegotiate. The final task is to turn the entire ladder into one personal code. Now gather the 10 laws into one governing document. Purpose defines the win. Vision makes that win visible. Priority protects what the vision requires. Planning appoints the work. Discipline obeys when feeling changes. Diligence returns until conduct becomes reliable. Service directs capacity toward meaningful need. Relationships strengthen truth and contribution. Stewardship assigns every resource. Review identifies drift and produces correction. That is not 10 separate ideas. It is one continuous system. Return to the contradiction with which we began. You may study principles, underline them, discuss them, and still surrender your conduct to pressure. Information becomes government only when you decide, in writing, what you will do and then provide evidence through behavior. The difference between admiring a law and living by it is observable obedience. Write this down. Your life changes when the principles you admire become the code you obey. Take a page and write 10 first-person sentences. Not aspirations, rules. Use verbs that can be observed. I will define worthy contribution before measuring achievement. I will describe the future I am building. I will protect my highest commitments. I will schedule their next actions. I will honor rightful decisions when enthusiasm fades. I will practice essential work consistently. I will apply my ability in service. I will welcome relationships that support truth and correction. I will assign my resources deliberately. I will examine evidence and repair drift. Make each sentence specific to your life. Include the priorities you will protect and the distraction you will reduce. Name the people connected to encouragement, correction, collaboration, and service. Record the neglected relationship and the conversation it requires. State which resource has been wasted, what your inventory revealed, and what measurable amount will now be reassigned. Now read the code and circle the weakest law. Do not attempt a dramatic reconstruction of your entire life tonight. Choose one repair. What action would provide evidence that this law has begun governing you? Assign that action a starting time within the next 24 hours. Put it where pressure cannot pretend it was never decided. Then schedule your first weekly code review. Record evidence beside every rule, aligned, drifting, or requiring repair. Choose the next correction. Name one trusted person who may ask whether the review occurred. Accountability is not control. It is permission for truth to enter the process. Now say this aloud. I am responsible for the conduct I practice, the people I serve, the resources I manage, and the corrections I make. I do not control every outcome, but I will govern what has been entrusted to my decision. Teach this framework to someone you trust, not merely through explanation, but through the order of your life and the honesty of your conversation. Success is not guaranteed applause, effortless progress, or favorable circumstances. It is a dependable way of living under worthy personal law. Do not end with agreement. Begin with the scheduled act. Let that first act prove that the code has left the page and entered the life.